Today on Writing Done Right, we're going to talk about who should self-publish their book. We will consider who should not self-publish a book at another time. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about this discussion. Thanks for checking out this video by Writing Done Right. I'm Thomas Murawski, an author and a technology consultant. And today we did want to talk a little bit about self-publishing, and we want to talk specifically about who should self-publish a book. Now, this is going to be part of a course that I'm working towards, so if you could please leave your comments down below, leave any questions, anything you think I might be missing out, any other good points you have. And this will all go towards working on the course, which will be taught sometime this summer. But we're going to start in by first defining our basic terms, because as we talk about self-publishing in the world of publishing and with the modern advances in technology, one of the things that we are seeing is kind of a blending and maybe a blurring of our publishing types. There are, of course, some people that, maybe particularly the older folks in the writing industry, when you talk about self-publishing, they just have pictures of paying thousands and thousands of dollars and filling up your garage full of books that you will never sell. And that is not what self-publishing means anymore. There are strong advocates against self-publishing, and I think that a lot of those folks tend to not follow what is going on in current industry standards, as the way that you self-publish a book is nearly identical to the way every corporation makes their books. Everything is printed on demand for the most part. But let's go ahead and define the terms. First, we have self-publishing, as we will define over the course of this video. This is the process by which you as the author are working directly with the distributor, uploading completed files. Now, did you complete them or did somebody else complete them? That is another question for another time. But you have your files wherever they came from. You're uploading them directly into an account that you control, and you are managing all of the sales and the royalties of that without any agents or publishers or anybody else in the middle. Now, we also have vanity publishing, and this is really what the old school of self-publishing used to be. Vanity publishing is typically you're paying a lot of money up front. You have to buy a whole lot of books up front. These are not particularly common these days, but they still do exist. They rely on all of your income that the company's going to make, knowing that the average self-published author or the average author without a huge platform is probably not going to sell a lot of books. They want to make sure that they are profitable in the upfront. And if you happen to be successful, they will gladly take some more of the royalties and pass you what you all agreed to. And the royalties can be pretty good because you generally don't have an agent in between siphoning more off the top. We also have various printing services. These are kind of tied into the indie or maybe the a la carte type publishing. Going back to self-publishing, you can purchase individual services. You can purchase cover design. You can purchase interior design. You can purchase ebook design. So you may not know how to do any of these things, but you're contracting out the services by which you can self-publish. Now, I actually handle some of those services if you're looking to get a book formatted, either interior design or ebooks. I do those services. You can feel free to reach out to me for some costs. Now, traditional publishing, this is the high mystique publishing, which doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot in this modern day and age. Some of the best books I've ever read have been self-published by individual people through working with their systems. But the traditional publishers, this is your Penguin House, etc. Huge companies. You got to work from an agent. They sell the book, and then they take over all of the creative control. They publish the book, and in a few years, you'll have a book out. You'll get very small royalties. If you happen to be somewhat big name or somewhat have a big platform, you can probably get an advance in royalties. They're not going to do a whole lot more for you otherwise, unless you are already a multi-million, copy selling author. And then you have the indie publishing. This is kind of sits that kind of a la carte model. The indie publishing, sometimes you're paying to get the book published, sometimes you're not. Sometimes it's just consulting fees. Sometimes they're doing the whole process. Sometimes you say, I already have such files. I'm going to go ahead and bring those to you. These are good options that you have. So those are your backdrop of the types of ways. Again, we're talking here about who should self-publish. So who should work directly with the distributors on your behalf. And I identified a few different people here. Looks like I have 4 on my specific list. The first is a person who is detail orientated. You see, if you're working with another company, they have passed your manuscript through a whole set of eyes. You may or may not have purchased editing services from them, but some typewriter, some copywriter, there's going to be professionals involved, and they don't want to have a bad product pushed to the market that will tarnish their name. So a number of people have seen those. If you are the one bringing your book to print, then you are going to have a circumstance where you have to be detail orientated. You have to make sure that all of your editing is proper, all your formatting is proper. You just need to make sure everything is set right. Otherwise, you're going to have a really bad product, and that might actually show off negative. And if you have some horrible cover and nobody had the guts to tell you that's a horrible cover, your book may not sell simply because it was a bad cover. And you want to avoid things like that. You got to be detail orientated. You got to know what the manuscript submission guidelines are. You have to follow those. You really have to know what you're doing. Now, you can mitigate a few of those by contracting out some of the services. So if you hire a company to do your interior design and your cover design and your ebook design, it's going to cost you a few $1,000s to get all that done, but then you can work directly with the publisher without having to pay a lot of extra fees otherwise. The next is a person with the time to put it all together. We might also say someone who has the money to put it all together. We could probably put those under the same category. If you have the money, you're hiring out the services, you don't mind paying a few extra $1,000s to get everything done right, and then you take the final products in, and then you can hire a person like myself as a coach to guide you in the process of self-publishing. That is certainly good if you got the time to figure all this out or the money to get behind it. Now, as far as the time to put it all together, the hours it takes to format a book, if you are a professional and you know exactly what you're doing like I do, depending on the size of your book, it could take 3 to 10 hours to do the interior design of a book. A book cover could take 5 to 10 hours. Hey, if you look at my cover for Happy Holidays, we have 40 hours in that one book cover. Now, granted, it was designed in 3D animation software, but hey, we were having a good time. In that case, it does take time to do it right. Ebooks, if you know what you're doing, it takes a couple hours. Now, those were the time frames if you know what you're doing. If you got to stop and research every step, you got to stare at the guidelines at every step, you got to be like, how do I make this little thing go over here? And it takes you an hour and a half to research. You're talking dozens, if not hundreds of hours to bring a book to publication. So if you got the time to do that, maybe money's short, but you got plenty of time, hey, self-publishing might be for you. The next is somebody who needs to get the book to the market fast. If you're working with an indie company, it could take 3 to 4 months to get a book out. If you're working with a traditional publisher, do not expect that book to be published for 2 years unless you are a big name and you're doing something that is time sensitive. Like, let's talk about the, let's see, I'm recording this the day of the inauguration. You have a hard-hitting topic, either positive or negative, about the new incoming president. And you're an expert in the field, and some publisher comes to you and says, how quick can you get this book done? As soon as that draft is done, they will get that thing to the market. Okay, they got the resources, but for the average person, it's gonna take a few years because you gotta get an agent, you gotta shop, the agent's gotta shop it, the publisher's gotta see it, they gotta read it and accept it, and then it goes through a 6-month internal design process. That book's not getting out. But if you're like, I got a seminar, I got thousands of people, this is happening in a few months, let's get this thing self-published because I can write it, design it, style it, and get it in the printing inside of a couple of weeks. I think my fastest record book was Josiah's Sanctification. I actually wrote the book cover to cover in 1 week, spent 2 weeks editing it, and then on the 4th week, it was for sale everywhere you can buy a book. And so if you need to get it to the market fast, I didn't need to get it done that fast. It was kind of a challenge. How quick could I do this? And then the last one is someone who has a large platform for distribution. And the reason this one is on the list is because if you're talking about a traditional or even an indie or vanity or any other press that you have somebody in between you and the distributor, you got a whole lot of people taking money off the top for royalties. You got the agent has a certain percentage. The publisher has a percentage. They got to hire the design team out. So if your book is selling for $15 and you happen to have, there's a $5 royalty caught in there, because, you know, maybe a 35 to 55 distribution minus the printing fees, you're talking, you have $5. Well, if the agent takes 10 bucks, 10% off the top, you know, they get 50 cents. The publisher is going to take half of what's left. You're going to be left with $2 a copy per book being sold. Now, if you have a large following already, you're talking, I got a YouTube channel with 50,000, 100,000 subscribers on it, and I know I'm an expert in the field and I have a large percentage of people that are going to purchase this book. I produce the book, I get it into the network, and then I basically just promote it to my channel. I'm going to sell a whole lot of copies out of the gate, and if there's nobody in between the distribution and me, I get that whole $5 instead of splitting that $5 out with the agent, the publisher, and everybody else in between. I'm going to make twice as much money per copy if I am the one actually managing all those. So if you have a large platform, self-publishing is probably for you. Now, if you got that large platform, I would recommend more of a hybrid approach. You're going to hire out to make sure all of the work is done right, and then you're going to get those into the system. You're going to pay a little bit of money up front to learn the process and to do the work, but you're going to save make a whole lot more money on the end. So there is the video about who should consider self-publishing. Sometime soon, probably not the next video, but very soon we will cover who should not self-publish. We'll cover that. If you have thoughts, anything I missed, anything else you'd like to know relating to the subject, please leave those in the comments down below so I can take that information in order to basically make this course a lot better. My plan for this particular course, it will probably be a free giveaway because I will have deeper, more in-depth courses down the road. But we're working on this one, which will be done at writers' conferences and will be given away for free online. So thank you for watching, and I hope that this video has helped you to get your writing done